Please join me in welcoming to the stage Deputy Assistant Secretary for Travel and Tourism, Alex Lasry.
All right, well, aloha and mahalo. It is great to be here. I know I am the last speaker between you and your break, so I will try to make this as quick as possible. But it is my pleasure to join you all today for the Hawaiʻi Tourism Conference. I'm honored to be here this morning with such great dignitaries and people who spoke before me. Senator Lynn DeCoit, we've got Daniel here, Chair Hanneman, and as you heard from the CEO of Hawaiian Airlines, Joe Sprague. I'm Alex Lasry. I'm the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Travel and Tourism at the U.S. Department of Commerce. You can tell by my very stilted dress that I work for the federal government. And in this role, I serve as the Biden-Harris administration's senior official for travel and tourism, and in that role, I oversee our National Travel and Tourism Office. And our office's mandate is to enhance the international competitiveness of the U.S. travel and tourism industry and to maintain America's status as the top destination for international travelers. And I appreciate the opportunity this morning to share our latest data on international visitation and spending in the U.S., as well as to highlight our efforts and our work across the federal government to implement the National Travel and Tourism Strategy as we work together to bring even more travel and tourism dollars to the United States while creating good jobs and economic opportunities for communities across this great country. When we took office in January of 2021, the world was still grappling with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the travel and tourism industry was probably one of the hardest hit. We saw travel exports decrease nearly 65% from 2019 to 2020. And in this decline, we saw the travel and tourism industry contributed heavily to unemployment. Leisure and hospitality lost 8.2 million jobs between February and April of 2020, accounting for 37% of the overall decline in unemployment during this period. However, since this administration started, we've seen a comeback. Leisure and hospitality employment in the U.S. has increased by 4.2 million, which is a 33% increase to a record of 16.9 million jobs. In addition, U.S. travel exports have increased from $5.2 billion in January of 2021 to $21.1 billion in July of 2024. And as we know, this industry is extremely important to our economic growth and our economic vitality. And so today, according to our data, travel and tourism supports nearly 10 million American jobs through $2.3 trillion of economic activity. And last year alone, visitors spent $226 billion across the entire country. And that's why what we've seen from this administration and from our great secretary, Gina Raimondo, that the travel and tourism industry has been made a top priority, and the recovery of this industry is a top priority. And that's why, as a result, 2 years ago, the Secretary announced the National Travel and Tourism Strategy, and that's what guides our office's efforts. The strategy is designed to bring a whole-of-government approach to increasing American jobs and growing the economy through travel, tourism, and outdoor recreation, and to support a more robust and sustainable industry moving forward, as well as having the public and private sectors working together to increase the volume and value of travel and tourism. The strategy sets an overarching goal of attracting 90 million visitors who are going to spend $279 billion annually by 2027. And it's organized around four main pillars: promoting the United States as a travel destination, facilitating travel to and within the United States, ensuring diverse, inclusive, and accessible travel experiences, and fostering resilient and sustainable travel and tourism. So as I previously said, this summer marked the 2-year anniversary of the National Strategy's release, and I think it's safe to say that I'm really proud of the progress that we've already made. In 2023, international visitation to the United States was nearly 66 million people, up nearly 16 million visitors from 2022. And while that's only 84% of the pre-pandemic visitation, our office is forecasting that by next year, we'll be fully recovered. More importantly, our office is forecasting that we are actually on track to meet the strategy's goal of 90 million visitors a year early in 2026. And so what I think we can see is that the recovery of this market is due in large part to the strategy that the Secretary laid out, and I want to highlight some of the examples that our office has done. We've heard already, I think, from a lot of the local successes and what's going on locally, and I want to really highlight what we're seeing federally and nationally and how that's impacting what's going on here in Hawaii. When it comes to promoting the U.S. as a travel destination, which is our first pillar, we're working on a range of initiatives with our interagency colleagues and private sector partners, including Brand USA. The Department of Commerce is leading an initiative at U.S. embassies in top international markets to coordinate U.S. government efforts on the ground to promote travel to the United States through strategic country tourism plans. These plans ensure that we're taking a whole-of-government approach in our markets around the world to attract as many visitors as possible to see the United States and experience it as well. We're also focused on recovering travel from some of our top markets, for example, Japan, one that I know is extremely important to the Hawaii tourism market. And that's why the U.S. and Japanese governments declared 2024 to be the U.S.-Japan tourism year. Japan used to be our second largest source of overseas travelers to the United States before the pandemic. And what we've seen now, though, however, after the pandemic, is that visitation has only rebounded 40% of 2019 levels. However, the tourism year aims to accelerate this recovery in Japan to make sure that we're encouraging Japan as a key market for more travel between the United States and Japan, and we've been working with Brand USA as a key partner. And just a couple months ago, I was able to actually travel to Tokyo with Brand USA in a sales mission, and we were able to meet with tourism operators, airlines, and the Japan Tourism Agency to really talk about and express the importance of the U.S. as an international market, and especially the importance of Japan. And we've seen a lot of excitement, and I think we're going to be able to see a lot of rebound from that market, especially here in Japan. And as a result, as our 2024, our data is predicting that Japan is going to regain or even exceed the position it held as our second largest overseas market in 2019. We are also working to recover travel and tourism from China to the United States. In May, the Department of Commerce, Brand USA, and the Ministry of Culture and Tourism to the People's Republic of China held our 14th China-U.S. Tourism Leadership Summit in Xi'an, bringing together travel and tourism sector leaders to rebuild critical stakeholder relationships and grow the recovery and travel in this market. We were really happy to have Daniel there representing Hawaii at the summit. And this summit was especially important because the return to the 2019 level of Chinese visitors would contribute over $30 billion to the U.S. economy and create over 400,000 jobs. We're going to use the momentum from this summit and the tourism year to continue to work with stakeholders to bring more Japanese and Chinese visitors back to the United States and make sure that we are fully recovered from the pandemic. However, some of our best opportunities for growth are actually going to come over the next few years, which we have been dubbing the sports decade. We've heard from some of our previous speakers the importance that sports and travel and tourism are going to play to the Hawaii tourism market, and that is actually going to be extrapolated across the rest of the United States. The next 10 years, I think, bring some of our biggest opportunities to bring visitors that otherwise might not have been thinking about the United States as a travel and tourism destination. Over the next 10 years, the United States will be the center for sports and entertainment with large-scale sporting events such as the FIFA World Cup in 2026, the LA Olympics and Paralympics in 2028, and the Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City in 2032. We're also bidding on a number of other major sporting events like the Women's World Cup. These events have the potential to attract visitors who otherwise might not have been thinking of coming to the United States, and it's serving as an important user for economic growth, cultural exchange, and global visibility for host and non-host destinations. For destinations, the appeal of hosting such events extends beyond the immediate economic benefits, as they provide a unique opportunity to highlight the destination's hospitality, as well as its natural and cultural assets to global audiences. But if done correctly, sports have the ability to bring travelers beyond our gateway cities and to states to explore new and less visited destinations. So when we think about what's going to be happening at the World Cup, we're going to have visitors from all across the world who maybe weren't thinking about coming to the United States, but are coming to support their country or come see, probably the biggest global sporting event in the world. Well, they're going to need other things to do when their countries aren't playing. And so we have to make sure that we're working with your tourism authority and your tourism operators so that when people are in Los Angeles for the World Cup, or in Los Angeles or San Francisco for the Olympics, that when there are days that the events aren't going on, that they're using that close proximity to come right here to Hawaii and experience all that Hawaii has to offer. And that's something that the World Cup, the Olympics, and other major sporting events are going to be able to bring that other types of events and tourism conferences can't. According to our survey of international air travelers in 2023, we saw nearly 15% of international travelers include a sporting event in their trip activities, which is the highest percentage to date reporting to do so. And so as a result, we actually directed our Tourism Policy Council to create a working group on sports tourism, which allows us to adopt a more holistic approach to capitalizing on sports and tourism opportunities. But we can only capitalize on these opportunities if we're doing all we can to ease the frictions of traveling to and within the United States, which happens to be our second pillar. The U.S. Department of State has made great progress in reducing visa interview wait times for businesses and leisure travelers in top international markets. And in 2023, the Department of State issued a near record level of non-immigrant visas, more than 10.4 million globally. In addition, the Department of State, in coordination with the Department of Homeland Security, has also expanded its ability to waive in-person interviews for eligible applicants, which serves to expand interview appointment availability and decrease wait times. The Department of Homeland Security's Customs and Border Protection continues to expand biometric exit through public-private partnerships with airlines, airports, and seaports to enhance security and the travel experience. And the Department of Transportation recently released its updated National Travel and Tourism Infrastructure Strategic Plan, which supports the implementation of our strategy through infrastructure investments that are informed by an emphasis on climate, sustainability, equity, economic strength, and global competitiveness. We're also leading the way when it comes to ensuring diverse and inclusive and accessible tourism experiences, which is our third pillar under the strategy. Through the Tourism Policy Council, federal agencies are working together not only to expand and improve access for travelers with disabilities at federal sites, but also to communicate more clearly to travelers what is available. The Department of Transportation proposed a new rule requiring airlines to meet new standards for prompt, safe, and dignified assistance for passengers with disabilities. And the International Trade Administration has signed new strategic partnership agreements to work with diversity and inclusion organizations to extend the benefits of travel and tourism to underserved communities across the United States. And these partnerships will support events, webinars, outreach, and training for these businesses as part of a shared mission to support diverse and inclusive accessible tourism experiences. Lastly, the Commerce's Economic Development Administration invested $750 million in American Rescue Plan funding to support travel, tourism, and outdoor recreation to communities whose economies were hit hard by the pandemic. And our final pillar is our fostering resilient and sustainable travel tourism. And last week, I was representing the United States at the G20 Tourism Ministerial Meeting in Belém, Brazil, where the theme was sustainability. And we were able to discuss the ways the United States is using our strategy to build a more sustainable tourism sector. While there, I participated in the UN Tourism Panel focused on the necessary policy framework for accelerating the social, environmental, and economic sustainability of our sector. The ministers of the G20 countries, alongside industry leaders, discussed the future cooperation to better measure the sustainability of tourism through the UN-endorsed statistical framework, as well as the growing opportunities for travel and tourism sector to have a positive impact on communities and the environment. Furthermore, federal agencies are working to educate tribal, state, local, and private sector stakeholders on how to strengthen resilience to climate change and extreme weather events. The Department of Commerce's National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration announced it will invest $50 million in funding from the Inflation Reduction Act to strengthen climate resilience and enhance equitable access to the benefits of the National Marine Sanctuary System. Also, the Department of Interior announced a nearly $200 million investment in climate restoration and resilience projects to protect America's national parks. Commerce's EDA is also the lead agency within the Maui Economic Recovery Commission to provide critical support and planning coordination on subject matter expertise. And so prior to the wildfires, 70% of every dollar in the Maui County was directly or indirectly generated from tourism. And the travel and tourism is an engine of prosperity and opportunity for the local community. We must focus on the future of travel and tourism as a resilient industry. The Commission is helping shape a brighter economic future for Maui and Hawaii, and helping the community demonstrate that it is ready to welcome back visitors. And we are telling everyone that we meet with across the world that Hawaii is open and ready for their visitors. As you can see, our recovery is driven in large part to these 4 pillars, which guide our national strategy. But our work and engagement with the stakeholders and industry is just as important. We're working closely with Bill Hornbuckle and the Travel and Tourism Advisory Board. It's our 32-member board that advises the Secretary of Commerce on travel and tourism issues. And the board's recommendation inform our work under the strategy. And we couldn't be more lucky to have Mufi Hanneman continue to serve this board, and we thank him for his service and all of his dedication and recommendations that he's made to make sure that our industry is better served. So thank you. In June, the board shared recommendations on the topics of improving the collection and dissemination of travel and tourism data to support industry making decisions, identifying and responding to current and future trends within the industry, and leveraging sporting and large-scale events as a catalyst for tourism promotion and destination enhancement. These recommendations are being considered by the Secretary and our federal agency partners for potential action as we pursue this whole-of-government approach in collaboration with the private sector to make further progress against the strategy. We're also actively seeking applications for the next term of the board, so please, if you're interested, do consider applying. We'll make sure that our team can share more information with you on this incredible opportunity. So 2 years ago, as I said, the Secretary laid out ambitious goals in the national strategy. And when I think about where we were compared to where we are today, I couldn't be more proud of all the work we've done together to get the travel and tourism industry back on track. But there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, and we're not going to be able to do it without you. We have a unique structure here in the United States, one that's different than the entire world. Most countries have a singular cabinet-level tourism minister, and while I'd be honored to serve in that, we actually here don't have someone in the cabinet. You guys are stuck with me, but more importantly, we actually have thousands of tourism ministers across this country. Every city, state, and locality has their own tourism minister, and that allows us to be more in tune with our communities and more adaptable to our country's tourism needs. And it's because of this structure that the United States was able to rebound from the pandemic stronger and faster than anywhere else. And that's why the United States continues to be the top tourist destination in the world. And so while I'm extremely proud of our work, I know that we couldn't do it without every person in this room. We can't reach our goals under the national strategy unless you're all able to reach your tourism goals. We can't do what we need without making sure that you guys have the resources that you need. So I want you all to know that while I'm in this position, my job is to make sure that your jobs are easier. So I want to say thank you, mahalo, and I hope that you all know that my door is always going to be open. So thanks again for having me today. I wish you guys a successful conference. And with that, I'm looking forward to our break and seeing the rest that this conference has. And if anyone ever needs anything, I'm serious. Our door is always open. Invite us to a conference. We'll make sure that someone's here. We want to make sure that you guys have the representation and the resources needed to ensure that Hawaii continues to be one of our strongest and greatest tourism markets. So thank you guys for all the work that you're doing. We wouldn't be able to reach our goals without you. Keep us posted on the resources you need, and I'm looking forward to the next few days in Hawaii. So thank you all. And looking forward to meeting with you guys over the next few days.